I'll say this, within my first,
Oh, well, thank you.
you've done a great
And
job.
you're entering a phase now that I'm right behind you on, which is you've got now adult kids coming on the scene. They want to learn the business. And so you're moving into a phase now where you're going to be helping them learn the ropes.
We're
and
both
do deals.
grandparents.
Yeah.
So
Congratulations.
I have 6 grandkids, and so I don't know if we've only talked about my boys,
Yeah.
who are, the ones still at home, but
Yeah.
my 2 daughters are 36 and 26.
Okay.
And I have 6 grandkids between the 2 of them.
Are they close?
They're in North Carolina.
Okay.
Not
So
close
not
enough.
too far. Not close enough. Yeah. So that's a huge priority, to be with them and spend time with them. And so my oldest is, he runs my hotel in Puerto Rico, but he wants to come here and he wants to get his hands dirty. He wants to get into projects. And so I'm really excited about slowing down my stuff and maybe and stepping into where I can mentor and help him learn the business. And, I told all my kids, if you want to do this business, I'm here to help, but just do what you love. I don't care what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be real estate. I could care less if it's that, but own it and make sure that you're passionate about it and going to put your heart and soul into it, because it's going to take up a part of your life.
I appreciate what you just said there about do what you want to do what you're passionate about, because that's the one thing that I feel like my job as a parent is just to nurture my kids, find out what their gifts are, find out what they're passionate about, and help them with that, not for me to mold them into who I think they should be or who I want them to be. And so, my oldest son is taking an interest in the business. It is something that he would like to do. And but even the other day I had a conversation with him, because he's a full-time college student. And so he likes to play golf 3 or 4 times a week. He's coaching on a high school football team. He's going to college, and he's doing real estate.
He's busy.
Yeah. And I saw him getting a little overwhelmed. I said, look, buddy, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. But if this is something that you want to do, then I'll support that.
Yeah.
And he said, no, this is what I want to do. And I said, all right, okay.
Let's go. Yeah, I was with my oldest son, who wants to come here and start doing deals, and he said, Dad, because he manages my hotel, and it's been a tremendous growth for him. And I let him do it. I let him fall down a little. I let him make mistakes, and so he asked me, he's like, what's the biggest thing that I need to learn? And I said, son, if you can make it okay to make mistakes in this business, make it okay and learn from it, but make it okay and be willing to try new things all the time.
Mm-hmm.
If you're willing to do that, you're going to be awesome at this, because that's what this is. You're just trying things all the time. And if you can make those mistakes okay, you fall down, you get back up. And that really resonated with him, because he kind of said, I don't want to mess up. I don't want to mess up. And I said, you got to mess up. So there's no way around it. You have to mess up.
I had a conversation with some of my coaching students last week, and they were asking, hey, how do we reconcile this stuff with making mistakes? I'm so tired of making mistakes. I said, the way you reconcile is recognize you're going to keep on making mistakes. I said, I learned a long time ago that if I put it on myself that I was never going to make mistakes, that I was just going to make myself go crazy.
Yeah.
And I remember, this goes back to the really early days, and with the Flipping Homes website, there was one guy there who got a deal done. He lived in Houston, Texas, and we're cheering him along. We're walking him through the whole process, and he gets his first deal done. And you're talking 2002, 2003.
Yeah.
He made $28,000 on a flip.
Which was a lot of money back then.
It was a whole lot of money. And then so he gets it done, and now we're cheering for him and say, go get your next one. And then he comes back and he said, my wife and I, we decided we're not going to do it anymore. And I said, why? And he said, we don't want to make all those mistakes again. And I said, you got paid $28,000 to make those mistakes. I would be out there trying to make those mistakes over and over and over again. I'd make those mistakes as often as you can.
Yeah.
And I said, if you can just one time, correct one of those mistakes and make $30,000 next time. And some people.
Or you'll make a whole new set of mistakes, and so that's it.
Yeah.
I tell my kids all the time, I say, guys, look, you can either take risks or take orders.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't want to take orders from someone telling you where to be, when your lunch is, what you got to do, if you don't like that, if you like that or it doesn't bother you, fine. But those are your options. You take risk or you take orders.
Mm-hmm.
And that's life.
I have, to this day, been involved. I've bought over 600 houses myself, but in other transactions working with other people, it's well over 1,000.
Yeah.
And with all that experience, we still make mistakes. Almost
Yeah.
every single deal, there's a mistake that it's like,
I had a student recently, and they're like, man, I keep going over budget on my rehabs. What do I do, Jerry? You've been doing this for 20 years. What do I do? And I said, I still go over budget on rehabs, and very rarely do I not go over. I mean, that's just whatever you think it's going to cost you, add another 10 grand because you're tearing into an old house, you know? But people don't seem to think, they can't make that okay. A lot of people don't make that okay. I've got a friend that's a very similar story to yours in Detroit. And I hadn't seen him for a long time, was a wholesaler. And at the time I knew him, he was pretty good wholesaler. He was doing about $200,000 to $250,000 a year wholesaling. And I bumped into him after not seeing him for a while, and I said, hey, how's it going? He said, I went back to my $80,000 a year engineer job. And I said, why? And he said, I just couldn't handle the up and down, the inconsistent, the a lot of money this month, no money next month. I just couldn't handle that. And I thought to myself, you went from 200 or so back to 80 because you couldn't handle like the hard parts of it. And you know, so I don't know that it's for everybody.
Yeah, and that's the part that I love helping people with.
Mindset.
Oh yeah, and how to overcome exactly that.
Yeah.
I felt very blessed when I got started because prior to being a real estate investor, I had a restaurant and bar, and I went under with that. I lost everything there. But the one thing that happened that I took away from that was the accountant that I had there insisted that I go on payroll. I put everything on payroll, and his reasoning for it was so that I wouldn't get in trouble with the IRS with all the employees. But for whatever reason, that stuck with me. When I got into wholesaling, I went and put up myself on payroll just because of this fear I had of getting in trouble with the IRS. And so one of the things that was really important was to get my payroll account funded every month. But I didn't live off of the ups and downs of the deals. I lived off of my paycheck. And at that time, it was only like $1,600 or $1,800 a month.
Yeah. So it didn't matter if you did a $30,000 month or a no month. You paid yourself a paycheck.
Yeah.
Lived below your means.
Yeah.
And then built the business.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
And so today I'll teach people, hey, what do you need in a year? If it's $7,000 a month, well, let's get $84,000 set aside into a payroll account that you can't touch it for anything other than your payroll. You can't use it for doing deals, no matter how tempting it might be, no other opportunities. This is just your payroll. And every month you just take $7,000 out of that account to meet your family's needs. And when you do a deal, fill that account back up again. And then anything over and above that, you can do what you want to do with it. But make sure that account gets filled up. You got a whole year runway in front of you.
Yeah.
And if you can't fill that account back up in a year, then you shouldn't be doing this business.
I mean, Steve, that really is what skyrocketed my entry into real estate, what you just said, because what I did was, at the time I needed $25,000 a year was my number.
That was mine.
Okay. It was $25,000. What I did is I kept the job and I part-timed it until I had the $25,000 set aside. And then I went in full time. Now I stayed on the $25,000 a month when I was full time. My first month full time, I did like $52,000 in wholesale revenue. But I didn't just go buy cars and I kept it busting at the, working out of the garage kind of a mindset, kept my expenses as low as I could. And then all that excess cash, it just allowed me to grow the business faster than if I started spending money left and right. And I see people do that. They get going and they start buying houses and they start buying stuff and they're just still figuring things out. And man, what a dangerous path to put yourself on.
Oh, your
because you don't go backwards. You only go forward.
Sounds almost exactly like mine. The same story as far as the needs and then what I started making. And but too many people have one good year and they think they're going to have that good year year after year. And they don't realize that to sustain, those good years one after another. I mean, there are ups and downs. There's no question about it. And I think you got to plan to live your life based off of the downs, not the ups. Yeah. The ups help set you up for the future, not help you live life today.
That takes discipline, though. It takes a real long-term mindset and a discipline, and so like if you guys are watching this, I hope you're getting a lot of value out of how to look at this, especially if you're new in the business. Markets go up and down, opportunities come and go. What worked yesterday may not work tomorrow, and you got to be adapting all the time. And I can't tell you in the past 20 years how many times I've reinvented myself And that's just normal. It's not nothing going wrong.
Just like me, you've moved also.
Moved a lot.
Every time we move to a new market, we have to
relearn.
Figure it all out. I mean, I had to spend so much time in this market just getting to know the market. Fortunately, I mean, I have experience that I can draw off of, but it's still a completely new market. I don't have relationships. I don't have the team. And the ins and outs for block by block or this pocket in this neighborhood or that, you just don't have that knowledge.
It takes time to learn that.
Yeah, and that is some of the most valuable stuff that you get. And as a coach today, I am recognizing, and I've been saying this now for a few years, but I think that this is so true. So many people get into this business, think that you get rich quickly. And, you know, people don't realize that today, I'm 28 years in this business today. And yeah, life is good today, but it was consistency over a long period of time. While I was making great money in my first few years in the business, I wasn't wealthy. I wasn't set up. I just had a high income.
Yeah.
And it takes a long time to put those things into place. And I'm a 100% believer in this today, that it is 10 to 15 years to build a good business. And if you're going to call it a business, and a business being a machine that can run without you, it takes 3 to 5 years over the course of that 10 to 15 where you're intentional of actually building it out as a business. But anyone who buys into the thought or the idea that they can do this in, 2 to 3 years and set themselves up,
you're grossly mistaken.
Yeah. It takes time.
You're going to get a rude awakening when it doesn't happen like you think it's going to. Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. Well, Steve, this has been fantastic. Thank you for sharing your ideas and your thoughts and philosophies on this. And what I'd like to do on the next video is, we're out here actually at one of your projects, is to walk the project. I'd love to hear the numbers, how you put it together, what your thoughts are, like your ideas around what you're doing, and your vision for it. And so guys, if you want to watch that video, watch for that. We'll do another video where we actually go through one of Steve's projects and learn the ins and outs of how you did the deal. So
sure.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, guys. See you on the next video.